For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord.
10 Egyptian gods, each struck down in sequence, not random catastrophes, a divine sentence, and the evidence still lies buried beneath the eastern Nile Delta. The modern towns of Fakus and Kantir mark the historic Goshen corridor. Here, at the site of Tell Basta, the ancient city of Avaris, archaeological remains provide a physical setting for the biblical narrative. Beginning in 1966, excavations led by Manfred Bietak uncovered a distinct Semitic culture buried within the Egyptian soil. Beneath native strata, archaeologists found mud brick homes, Levantine-style tombs, and ritual donkey burials, confirming a large foreign population lived under pharaonic oversight. Outside of these physical ruins, ancient Egyptian writing provides a debated parallel. Housed in the Rijksmuseum van Oudheden, Papyrus Leiden, being 344, translated by Alan Gardner in 1909, laments a nation in total chaos, specifically declaring that the river is blood. While scholars debate whether this text preserves a historical memory of the Exodus or merely a poetic lamentation of societal collapse, it mirrors the exact catastrophes recorded in Scripture. Within this real, contested environment, the direct confrontation between the God of Israel and the gods of Egypt began. The confrontation began where Egyptian life originated, the Nile. At the first cataract near Elephantine Island, the ram-headed god Khnum stood guard over the river's sacred source. By turning the waters to blood, the god of Israel overthrew Khnum and struck Hapi, the god of the Nile flood, celebrated in reliefs at Luxor and Abu Simbel. Hapi's life-giving inundation became a current of death. This decay crawled directly into the domain of Heqet, the frog-headed goddess of fertility and childbirth. Archaeologists have recovered her likeness in objects like the British Museum's diorite Lice frog amulet, once worn to invoke her protection. Heqet could not command her own sacred symbol. The uncontrolled swarm of frogs turned her promise of life into a rotting plague, exposing her utter powerlessness before the Creator. The judgment next descended to the dry land, targeting the earth itself. When Moses struck the dust, he challenged Geb, the Egyptian god of the soil. In the British Museum's Papyrus of Ani, Geb is illustrated lying beneath the sky, representing the ground that sustained Egyptian life. By turning this dust into swarming lice, the Creator corrupted Geb's domain. Confronted by this inescapable pestilence, the court sorcerers recognized their helplessness. Then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. Immediately after, swarms of flies saturated the air, striking at Shu, the god of the atmosphere. While Queen Ahotep's golden fly pendants celebrated the insect as a symbol of relentless military valor, this relentless force was now weaponized against Egypt, proving Shu could not guard the skies. The divine judgment bypassed the atmosphere to strike the physical substance of Egyptian wealth and worship, its sacred livestock. This blow targeted Hathor, the cow goddess of fertility venerated at Dendera, and Amun, whose ram-headed form lined the grand Sphinx avenues of Karnak. Most critically, it executed judgment on the Apis bull of Memphis, the living incarnation of the creator god Ptah. The sheer scale of this bovine cult is preserved at Saqqara. Discovered by Auguste Mariette in 1851, the subterranean Serapeum holds monolithic Aswan granite sarcophagi weighing up to 70 tons, built to house these mummified beasts in eternal glory. Now, they lay dead in the fields. This institutional ruin immediately became physical agony, as soot thrown into the air erupted into burning boils. This targeted Sekhmet, the lioness goddess of disease and healing. Amenhotep III had commissioned hundreds of black granite Sekhmet statues at the Temple of Mut to ward off epidemics. Yet, the supreme patroness of physicians, could not heal her own people, leaving Egypt's sacred healers covered in agonizing sores. The judgment escalated into the heavens. In the Valley of the Kings, the tomb of Ramesses VI contains a massive astronomical ceiling depicting Nut, the sky goddess, stretching her body to protect the cosmos. But when fiery hail shattered this canopy, it overthrew both Nut and Seth, the storm god venerated at Ombos. Seth's temple reliefs carved him as the driver of chaotic tempests, yet he could not contain the fury. What the hail spared, the locusts devoured, swiftly assaulting Osiris, the lord of agriculture. At Abydos, within the monumental temple built by Seti I, Osiris was invoked to guarantee harvest and rebirth. But the god of vegetation remained lifeless as dark clouds of millions of locusts stripped the fields. This ruin penetrated the sacred granaries of Bubastis, the delta city known as Pibeseth in the Book of Ezekiel. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of bronze cat figurines here, dedicated to the goddess Bastet to protect grain from pests. Yet this feline protector stood helpless, leaving Egypt's entire agricultural food security in complete and utter ruin. Egypt's supreme source of light, order, and cosmic rule was suddenly extinguished. At Heliopolis, the ancient city the Bible calls On, the red granite obelisk of Senusret stood as a physical conduit to the sun god, Ra, along with the towering obelisks of Hatshepsut and Thutmose-I at Karnak. These massive stone monuments were engineered to catch the very first rays of morning light, proclaiming the daily triumph of Ra, Aten, and Horus, of the eastern sky over chaos. Instead, they stood in total shadow, and Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. For 72 hours, the supreme solar deities of the empire were utterly buried, leaving the living pharaoh blind and powerless in his own palace. In the theology of the Nile, the ruling pharaoh reigned as a living deity, the physical son of the sun god, Ra. Colossal stone images broadcast this claim of eternal permanence across the empire. At Memphis and Abu Simbel, the towering statues of Ramesses II projected absolute authority, while the massive colossi of Memnon at Thebes stood as monumental sentinels of cosmic order. Even in death, these rulers sought absolute security for their passage through the afterlife, a preservation visible today in the royal mummies, including Ramesses II, now housed in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. Yet, this elaborate system of divine protection collapsed in a single night. The death of the firstborn bypassed every temple guard to strike the royal house directly, leaving the god-king powerless to protect his own son, the heir to the throne, and the next living god in the dynastic line. While this devastating event left no direct trace in the physical ruins of the Delta, ancient inscriptions provide a historical foothold for this era. In 1896, archaeologist Flinders Petrie excavated a black granite monument at Thebes, now known as the Merneptah Stele, dated to approximately 1207 BCE. This record contains the earliest known mention of Israel outside of biblical texts. It establishes a historical anchor, confirming the presence of the nation whose God had systematically executed judgment on the religious framework of Egypt, exposing the hollow authority of its gods before the creator of the cosmos. Egypt's ruined temples stand silent, but the verdict remains absolute. These ordered judgments systematically exposed Egypt's powerless gods, forever vindicating the true God of Israel. Today, this ancient confrontation still challenges where we place our ultimate allegiance. Subscribe for more deep dives into biblical history.